Welcome to today's Explainer. You know, we live in a world where absolutely everyone has an opinion, right? I mean, the internet is just completely full of these chaotic, highly emotional debates. But what if there was a way to take all of that noise and transform it into a structured, objective, and highly effective piece of academic writing? Well, that is exactly what we're going to do today. We're looking at the anatomy of an argument, specifically by mastering a format known as the discussion text. And by the end of our time together, you're going to know exactly how to write one.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question I know you've probably got a strong opinion on. Smartphones in class, yes or no? It's super relatable and honestly a highly controversial topic. Should they be banned completely so students actually stay focused, or should we be allowing them as these powerful digital learning tools? We're going to use this exact question as our anchor topic today just to help us figure out how to perfectly balance an argument.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, the art of discussion. 2, the anatomy of a discussion. 3, the language of balance. 4, cohesion and coherence explained. And 5, mastering your own text.
All right, diving right into Section 1, the art of discussion. What is it?
Fundamentally, a discussion text is one that takes a problematic issue, looks at it from different points of view, specifically the pros and the cons, and tries to find a meeting point. Now, what's really interesting here is what actually isn't stated. See, unlike a one-sided argumentative text where the whole point is just to aggressively convince someone you're right, or, those angry all-caps comments you see scrolling through social media, a discussion text is completely neutral. Think of it like a perfectly calibrated balance scale. Your job as the writer is simply to weigh both sides fairly and objectively before you ever come to a resolution.
Moving on to Section 2, anatomy of a discussion. Let's look at the text structure.
So every successful discussion text goes on a very specific four-part journey. First up, you have the issue. Second, the arguments for. Third, the arguments against. And fourth, the conclusion or recommendation. The absolute most crucial point here is that you literally cannot jump straight to your conclusion without walking your reader through both the pros and the cons first. If you leave one of those out, the whole scale tips and the text completely fails its primary purpose.
Let's break down Step 1, the issue. This is where you state the problem and just kind of preview the controversy. If we relate this back to our anchor topic, your issue paragraph would introduce the background. You might mention that smartphone use among students has skyrocketed recently, and that educators and parents are actively debating whether they belong in the classroom. You're just setting the stage, letting the reader know right off the bat that there are two totally valid sides to this story.
Once that stage is set, you bring out the scale. On the arguments for side, you could point out that smartphones give kids easy access to educational apps, and they really help build essential digital literacy skills for the modern world. But then you have to immediately balance that scale with the arguments against. You've got to present the valid concerns, right? Like how smartphones are massive gaming distractions, they ruin concentration, and they carry severe risks like cyberbullying. You're presenting both sets of facts without letting your own personal emotions take the wheel.
And that brings us to Step 4, the conclusion. Your job right here is to summarize objectively or offer a balanced recommendation. Because you've just spent all this time weighing both sides fairly, your conclusion shouldn't suddenly become super biased. Instead of saying something like, smartphones are terrible and must be destroyed, a balanced recommendation would suggest that, hey, while smartphones are definitely beneficial for learning, they require clear school regulations to prevent misuse. Do you see how that beautifully respects both the pros and the cons? All right, Section 3, the language of balance. We're talking grammar and vocabulary.
Now, there's a specific toolkit you're going to want to use for this. You should generally be writing in the simple present tense, simply because you're discussing current facts and general opinions. You'll also rely heavily on modal verbs. Think words like must, should, and may, alongside contrastive conjunctions, like however and on the other hand. And of course, you want to sprinkle in some solid academic vocabulary, words like beneficial or furthermore. It's kind of funny when you think about it. These simple tools, these little modal verbs and conjunctions, they are literally the secret weapons that separate a brilliant piece of academic writing from pure emotional internet arguing.
Take a look at how this sentence brings it all together brilliantly. On the other hand, smartphones can easily distract students from learning. Notice that contrastive conjunction right at the start, on the other hand. It just smoothly shifts the weight of the argument. And then look at the modal verb can. It doesn't claim smartphones will absolutely destroy all learning, it just says they can distract students. It's measured, it's highly objective, and it is perfectly balanced.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Cohesion and Coherence Explained. What is the actual difference?
This is a huge pitfall for a lot of writers, so let's compare them. Cohesion happens strictly at the sentence level. It's the grammatical flow. Think of it as the glue connecting your words and sentences together, using those exact conjunctions we were just talking about. Coherence, on the other hand, lives at the idea level. It's the rhetorical logic and the clarity of your text. It's basically the map of your overall argument. And the crazy thing is, you can actually have one without the other, which results in some seriously strange writing. Let me show you exactly what I mean.
Check out this famous blue car example. Read this with me. My favorite color is blue. Blue sports cars go very fast. Driving in this way is dangerous and can cause many car crashes. I had a car accident once and broke my leg. I was very sad because I had to miss a holiday in Europe because of the injury. Okay, so this has plenty of cohesion. Every single sentence connects grammatically to a word in the previous one, but it has absolutely zero coherence. I mean, we started out talking about the color blue and somehow ended up talking about missing a European vacation. The glue is there, but the map is gone. The overall story makes absolutely no sense.
Now for the flip side. Here is the summer grass example. My favorite color is blue. I'm calm and relaxed. In the summer, I lie on the grass and look up. So this has coherence, but absolutely no cohesion. The ideas actually relate to each other logically, the color blue, feeling calm, looking up at a blue summer sky, but there is zero grammatical transitions connecting those sentences together. It just feels super choppy and casual.
So how do we actually fix this? How do you ensure you've got both the glue and the map working for you? Well, one incredibly practical tool from our source material is something called a reverse outline, or sometimes a concept map. Here's how it works. After you've drafted your text, grab a blank piece of paper and write down the main idea, the topic sentence, of each paragraph. Then, just check to see if those topic sentences actually connect clearly back to the main thesis of your paper. If they don't, it means you've strayed from your map, and you need to rewrite a bit to bring that rhetorical logic back.
Finally, Section 5, Mastering Your Own Text. Let's get into some tips for success.
When you actually sit down to write, you gotta watch out for a few really common traps. First, unbalanced arguments. If you write out 3 pros but only 1 con, you aren't writing a discussion text anymore. You're just writing an argument. The absolute safest way to maintain that illusion of a balanced scale is to stick to a strict 2 pro and 2 con structure. Second, do not forget your conclusion. It's completely required to resolve the issue. Third, keep an eye on your grammar. Don't accidentally slip into the past tense when you're discussing current ongoing facts. And lastly, whatever you do, do not write a highly biased, emotionally charged conclusion. Keep it neutral, keep it measured.
So, you officially have the blueprint to turn any chaotic debate into an absolute masterpiece of objective reasoning. My final question for you today is this: what controversial issue are you going to balance next? Whether you tackle digital learning, school uniforms, or entirely new methods of digital payment, you now have the exact analytical skills to map it all out fairly. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing!